Hey, everybody. This Sunday we'll be having the second in the Free Woman series, and it's devoted to the Truth Keeper and liberating your throat, your voice, your truth, right? And I wanted to just speak a little bit to this idea that before becoming a truth speaker, it's a good idea to become a truth keeper. So that step one is to keep your truth, to hold your truth, to hold your peace, right? As a literal, as something that is unto you and actually nourishes you before you would speak that, right? The thing that is happening, I think, a lot is that we're all maybe very, I think, aware of how the voice and how truth can get shut down via a clamp down or the inability to speak or some kind of strangulation or suffocation from the outside or from an internalized state, right? I feel like that's pretty well understood. So the reaction to that would be what? Speaking all the time, get your voice open, get your truth out there, and the problem with that is that's a reaction to an oppression, a reaction to a strangulation. It's still not what it is to be a truth keeper. That's what we're going to be looking at because that situation, just bouncing from one to the other, sets they're just different expressions, different ways in which our truth we get cut off from our truth and we don't get to actually live with an indwelling sense of what that is. So let me break that down. Being a truth keeper before a truth speaker means that you don't allow yourself to be clamped down, but you also don't allow yourself to be contorted, compelled. You don't allow yourself to be forced to speak any more than forced to not speak, right? And that's, I'd say, kind of some of where the scales are shifting, where it's going back out of balance, is that there's so much pressure to speak your truth, speak truth to power, all this pressure, and tell me what you think, and all that means about you, all of this expression, pulling on your truth, pulling on your voice, which is your power, your voice, which is your word. There is power there but only if it's cultivated, right? It's like anything else. If it's not cultivated and potentized, and if you don't hold it and savor it and know it and come to live by it before you speak it, if you don't come to hold it as a sacred, this is actually sacred. Your truth, if you really get down to it, is very holy and very, really deserves protection in our world, just as you do. So there are three ways, kind of in relationship to this. I was like, okay, what are three ways that I think, three reasons that people feel like they're not being heard? And what could be done about that? And how does this relate to Truth Keeper? Now, the first one is because whoever you're talking to or whatever forum you're expressing yourself in, they don't give a shit. They don't care or they don't have the capacity to care. They didn't ask. Or if they asked, they only asked in order to argue with you, right? The first reason that you might not feel heard sometimes or feel like your truth isn't arriving or isn't giving birth to the fruits that you hoped it would is because you're not holding it until it's time. You're not being potentially, and the way that social media and everything is set up, of course, this is the deal. But what is happening is a lot of taking this thing that could be powerful and sacred and unto you and just exposing it everywhere and using it to prop up who you think you are or speak against who you think someone else is or what you think is the right way everybody should live, or it's a lot of it's the truth. The truth has a neutrality to it, right? Okay, so rewinding. Free Woman is going to be an hour and a half. We're trying to simplify it here to like 5 minutes. But one reason is that the reason your truth isn't being heard is because you're giving it to people in situations that don't care. And that's not going to change. It doesn't matter. You go ahead and yell, whatever. It's up to us. And in Free Woman, this is what we're holding. It's like, look, yeah, right, exactly. We're in the middle of so many circumstances that are out of our control, and people, by kind of by divine law, they aren't here to be controlled by us, right? So when and if they become available to your truth, all these things, that's not, you can't really control that, and you will exhaust yourself and cheapen your truth by doing that, arguably. So one is, one way that we're coming to more of a free woman and real liberation around the voice is to say, like, no, I'm not going to be prevented from speaking. I'm also not going to be forced to speak. Not by my internal conditioning and my need to defend myself, and not by someone else's need for me to demonstrate that I'm with them or anything. Like, I'm going to hold this truth, my voice, my word, and I'm going to let it accumulate power. And then I'm going to give it when I know that the person, the place, the situation has respect for it. Right? That we actually make your voice into something that you hold as sacred, not as a weapon, not as just, the latest post, but like as something that is sacred unto you. Right? This is one way in which you penetrate the world, and one way in which you change the world. And ideally, it's freed completely to be really what's true for you. And it's held as sacred. So the first, right, why aren't you being heard? Well, maybe because the people and places you're talking to don't care. And that's definitely true. One other would be that, what it means to hold your truth, become a truth keeper until you're ready to be a truth speaker, is that if you hold your truth long enough, you're going to burn in it. And what's going to happen is if you're like, wow, that's my truth. This is what I believe. I want to speak to this thing, or I want to express this that's profound to me or important or sacred or whatever. If you hold it for a while, what's going to happen is you're going to be forced to align around it inside your own being, right? Ways in which you're incongruous with that truth are going to show themselves inside of you. Ways in which your values actually don't align with that are going to show themselves to you, or your actions. And this is good. This is what's meant to happen. You hold your truth and you hold your peace while it changes you, so that when it's time to speak, part of how you know it's time to speak is that it's neutral and you're actually behind it. It's very hard for someone to hear your truth if you're not congruent behind it. That's just it. If you're saying something, but the actions, the way you're saying it, the other things you've done, the way in which if you're saying part of your truth is that it's important to be respected, but you're not even respecting the person that you're speaking to, there's an immediate incongruence. So, and then you're not going to be heard, right? So this possibility of holding your truth, not clamped down, but holding it like a wise woman, holding it like it's a power and something to be savored and something to be kind of to be savored and held until you want to give it, and you've determined that it is time. That's what we're looking for, right? And that you're ready. And that's kind of a hard line to walk, because it takes a while actually to get that lined up. Most people aren't, because it takes time. We don't want to participate in the incoherency of everything, because that is entangling. If you start to speak your truth, but you're not aligned with your truth, all that's going to do is entangle you in all the people and places that want to battle your truth, and can, because you're not in alignment with it. We want it when especially in Free Woman, the point is not just to be heard. The point is to be consistently liberated by what you speak, by how you speak it, right? And the places and people with whom you share it. And there was a third one. What was the third one of why people might not hear you? I don't really remember, but that's two. I think that's enough. The invitation, right? In Free Woman, Truth Keeper, and in this moment, from me to you, is just to take a minute and be like, all right, where in your life are you just not being heard? Or you feel unrecognized? Or you feel disrespected? Around your articulation. We're working with the throat. Around your articulation and your expression. And just check in. And really the question to ask is, do I feel like I'm being prevented from speaking? Do I feel like I'm being forced to speak? You know, from inside of me or outside of me? And is this liberating me? Is expressing this truth liberating me? Making me more useful? Making me, what are the fruits of this when I'm speaking my truth? And examining it for yourself, you know? This is you, your word, your voice. Like, this is your power. And learning how to hold it in a good way, like, that's the mastery of a lifetime. So we want to engage with it. And that's what we're going to engage with in Free Woman. And I think it's going to be rich, this invitation to make sure that you're on no end of this kind of pendulum swing. That you're not feeling like you can't speak and you're not feeling like you've got to speak, that you've dropped off the pendulum deep into your own knowing, into your own potency, right? And your own agency. Yeah, and then when the truth comes from you, then it's so audible and it's so inarguable and it's so neutral. And the sacred nature of that which that truth holds for you is protected, right? Which is also something I want for you. We all have lots of different truths, and I'm positive there's enough space for once they actually really are true and once we're congruent around them. And the exhaustion of trying to defend it all the time leads to amnesia, and it leads to it leads to a depletion. There's the boy. There's Phoenix the boy expressing his truth, which is that he wants us all to be safe and he's not going to let anything hurt us. All right, you guys, that's all I got for now. I got to go. I might see you on Sunday for Truth Keeper. I love you, and I wish that this be free in you. That you hold your peace and only give those things that are most precious to you to places and people and moments where they're held, they're received, and or they can burn so bright that they actually do shed light on the world around them. Blessed be.